Hello, I'm Beth Joey and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, welcome. This is the channel where I paint my face, turn my camera on and talk about books. It's almost April, which means Realm of the Readathon is almost here, yay! If you have not already heard of it, Realm of the Readathon is a month-long readathon that lasts throughout the month of April, which is hosted by Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy. I will link the announcement video in the description bar below. I personally am in Bayle, which is the forest realm, and this is headed up by Becca from Becca and the Books and Mel, I believe, from Mel Lenore Reads. The subgenre within this realm is fantasy romance. I'm not going to go into the full details of the readathon because Cassie does that amazingly well herself. She created this. It is an incredibly large and vast readathon, and you can just see the amount of thought and effort and ideas that has gone into it. The purpose of my video today is just to run you through a few of the books that I have got on my TBR to essentially maximize the amount of points I can add or subtract from my realm and from other realms as well. I have got my little notepad in front of me with all of the books that I'm picking and all of the prompts that they fit. So we are going to start with my increasing prompts. The first increasing points book that I have chosen is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. As for the prompts this fits, it is a fantasy romance, so that's plus 10 points. It is also fitting the Toast to the Goddess prompt, which is read a Cassidy favorite, which is 4 stars or higher. She gave this book 4 stars, so it fits that prompt. Negotiate a ceasefire, which is an enemies to lovers trope, which obviously this is an enemies to lovers book at the very beginning, so it fits that prompt. Supply run, which is to read a book written by an author that is from a different country to your own. So Sarah J Maas is from the US, I am currently in the UK, and I was born in Australia, so she's not from either of my countries, so it fits that prompt. Build a School is the YA or middle grade book prompt. I did Google it, and A Court of Thorns and Roses is technically classified as YA, and it's YA on Goodreads as well, so I am counting it, even though there has been some debate about whether this should be new adult instead. And then I'm hoping for this to also fit the rest break prompt, which is to read the book in one sitting. It's not very long, and I read it in one sitting the first time I read it, and I've been really wanting to do a reread, so hopefully I can fill that prompt out as well, but if not, I will be using the Claim Your Territory, which is the Has a Map prompt, and obviously this has a map at the very front, which is only worth 1 point versus the 3 points that I get for rest break, so we'll see. The next book that is in my increasing prompts list is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir, another fantasy romance, so that's an immediate plus 10 points. This is also another Cassidy fave. I believe she rated this 4 stars, so it fits that prompt. The Negotiate a Ceasefire prompt for an enemies to lover trope. Again, I'm using this one because you can double up on these prompts as many times as you want. This is an enemies to lovers book. The Build a Training Ground prompt, which is the Apprentice trope prompt, and I'm counting this because it is set in a military academy and one of the main characters, Elias, is the academy's finest soldier, so I consider that to sort of be an apprentice-y vibe, so it's gonna fit that prompt. Supply run, again, for an author that is from somewhere else to me, and Build a School again because this is classified as YA, so it fits that prompt too. And the last book in my increasing prompts list is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas because I'm trying to reread this whole series, and this readathon is kind of the perfect chance to do that. So obviously this still fits the fantasy romance prompt as well, and it fits the Toast to the Goddess prompt because I believe Cassidy gave this 5 stars, so it counts as a Cassidy fave. Negotiate a Ceasefire, which is the enemies to lovers trope, which definitely Rhys and Feyre do not like each other at the beginning of this book. Build a Castle, which is the chunky book prompt. For some people this would not count as a chunky book, but for me chunky book is 600 pages or more. The medic training prompt is for mental health rep or healing themes, which this definitely has considering it is starting at the end of a particularly difficult trial that Feyre completes at the end of the first book, which I'm not going to go into too much detail about because spoilers. And then the Grow Crops prompt, which is a book with green on the cover, and obviously the entire cover is green, so it fits that prompt with flying colors. So the total increasing points that I will contribute to my realm Bayle is 72 points, which I think is pretty good. But now for the decreasing points books to attack the other 2 realms adjacent to mine. We are going to start with another Sarah J Maas book because this just seems to be the month for it, and it is Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. Obviously, again, this is a fantasy romance series, so I'm counting it as the minus 10 points for that. It also fits the interrogation prompt to give a book or an author a second chance, which for me, obviously I love Sarah J Maas, so it doesn't fit that side, but I don't like the Throne of Glass series. I gave up on it really early on, and I didn't like Throne of Glass, so I'm giving the entire series another chance, including this book, so it fits that prompt. The next one is the War Veteran prompt, or a TBR vet, which this book has been on my TBR since I first started reading again 2 years ago, so that makes it a TBR vet for me. It also fits the Try New Magic prompt for a book out of my comfort zone because, one, I'm giving it a second chance because I didn't like the series, so that immediately makes it out of my comfort zone. And two, whilst it is a fantasy romance series, this particular book isn't so heavy on the romance, and I'm not a big fan of fantasy books that don't include quite a heavy romance in them, so reading something that's more like assassin and competition vibes than it is fantasy romance vibes is definitely not something that I would usually do. The next prompt that counts for this one is Betray an Alliance, which is an orphan or betrayal prompt, and I believe Selena is an orphan. And then the Magical Warfare prompt, which is that it has magical warfare or a weapon, and of course this definitely fits that as prompt as well. Selena Sadothian is an assassin, she has magical abilities, it all loops in very nicely. The second book in my decreasing points section is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare, which has a very annoying shiny cover which is going to reflect the light, so apologies for that. Another fantasy romance, so we get the immediate -10 bonus points. Then again, we're using the interrogation prompt of giving this book a second chance. I loved it. I will say the very first time I read it when I was in like the early stages of high school, but I read it again about 6 months ago and absolutely hated it. So I'm giving the book a second chance to sort of remind me of why I loved it in high school, so it fits that prompt. It is a TBR vet. This book has been on my reread list for like the last 2 years to give it a second chance after reading it in high school. I didn't finish it the first time when I tried it 6 months ago, so it is a TBR vet. It fits the Betray an Alliance prompt for an orphan or betrayal, and obviously there's a really big betrayal in here, and then I think at the beginning of the book, Clary kind of becomes an orphan. The Magical Warfare prompt, obviously the entire Shadowhunter world is based off of magical weapons. And then finally, this is somewhat of a stretch, but I'm saying it fits the Warhorse prompt based on 2 facts. There is a cat at the institute which is called Church, I believe, and it sort of like helps people and it messes with people, so that's an animal companion. And then also it has werewolves, and I know they're like kind of animal companions, so yeah, we're gonna make it work. And then my last decreasing points book is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. Yet again, another fantasy romance, so we get the immediate -10 bonus points for that. Plus, again, the interrogation prompt of giving an author or a book a second chance. I was about 20 pages into this book 6 months ago, or no, more 8 months ago now, and it just wasn't vibing with me. I didn't like it, so I put it down. So I'm giving it a second chance at this readathon. It fits the War Veteran prompt for a TBR vet because I've had this book for about 1.5 years now. It fits the Betray an Alliance prompt for an orphan or a betrayal because Jude and her sisters see their parents murdered, and that's just like the first sentence on the blurb, so that makes her an orphan. And then finally, it fits the Magical Warfare prompt for a magical warfare or weapon because I believe there's a blade in this called Nightfell, which is like a perfectly balanced blade which the Fae Prince, I think, owns. So with those 3 books, the total amount I am contributing to decreasing my adjacent realms points is 71. So these are all of the books that I plan to read for the month of April in the realm of the readathon. Usually I read more than just 6 books in a month, but these are the ones that I'm absolutely set on reading, so there will be a few others as the month goes on. Let me know in the comments down below if you are participating in this readathon, if you are as excited as I am for it, and let me know what's on your TBR as well. I'd love to get some inspiration, specifically if you are on the Bayle team. As always, if you've read these books, if you've loved them, if you've hated them as well, tell me everything about it in the comments down below. I love chatting to everyone. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you want to be notified when I release new content, and I will see you in my next video and hopefully in the readathon in the months to come. Bye!